they tend to stall after a fundraising round, not advancing to the next stage of funding or managing a successful exit.
So to say, okay, let's fail 10 times by landing an airplane.
Welcome everyone to another episode of RRI Academy. I'm your host Fabian, and today we delve into focusing on agility and rapid learning. Yeah, so as entrepreneurs, we often get attached to our idea, strategy, product, and that's totally normal. But this attachment can sometimes become a roadblock to growth and success. And that's why, don't forget management by detached involvement. Yeah, so let's have a look at the McKinsey study, which is called Europe's Startup Ecosystem, Heating Up, but Still Facing Challenges from 2020. So that's why they talk about heating up. As you know, recently, it's more like a cooling down. And some people think it will be even worse. Anyway, it's not a good time, but keep in mind, this is the best time to start your own business. So give me a little bit backdrop from this McKinsey study. In Europe, especially startups have been observed to stick with a given approach or product, showing less flexibility to continuously improve or pivot compared to their counterparts in other regions. A McKinsey report revealed that although the European startup ecosystem has seen a surge in unicorns and their creations pace, these startups often lag in achieving successful late-stage outcomes compared to those in the US or India. This doesn't mean they are failing, but rather they tend to stall after a fundraising round, not advancing to the next stage of funding or managing a successful exit. And this has become even worse since 2020. So this can be attributed to a number of challenges. So now, Andy, let's explore how we can overcome these challenges, inspiring by a quote that you brought up from Thomas J. Watson. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. Why do you think failure can be a stepping stone to success?
Yeah, so with regard to this quote from Thomas Watson, first of all, I would say it depends. And it depends on what Mr. Watson means by success. If you say
typical academic, it depends. Typical academic.
No. Listen first. When you say success is, I can safely land an airplane with passengers on board, or if you want to build a water barrage, then I would say Watson's suggestions would probably not be the good idea.
Yeah, but Watson was an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, however, if the goal is to develop and market a new product solution fit, then yes, of course, because failures are crucial, that you can learn, that you can pivot your solution to the right customers, to the right users, that you create the right user experience. And then when you have a failure, you lose maybe one potential customer or one potential user, but you can successfully sell later your product to millions of users. So it depends, I think, what Watson means with success. And when we talk about entrepreneurial success, yes.
Also, I mean, the thing is, we're talking about founding a company. We talk about fast growth, okay? So in this context, I'm totally with Watson. But thank you very much for your great perspective, Andy. So now let's move to the second slide we have today, showing a cycle of pivoting. How does this cycle play out in the real world of startups, and please, you know, in the perspective of founders?
Well, yes, the circle of build, fail, learn fast, I think it doesn't just affect startups, but is a general approach to developing and testing innovations. Also, you can use this cycle as well in elder established companies. And you know, this approach can also be used to change a company culture, or to build a startup, to build a business model, to develop new products and services, and so on and so forth. But again, if you want to build a nuclear power plant, don't use this approach. But
Okay, please, founders.
Waterfall was, yes, but maybe you have a startup that want to build something in life cycle with viruses, what is very, very dangerous. So you cannot come up and say, "Oops, we failed. Sorry," and humanity dies. You know, I think yeah, you need to understand what is the what does it mean when we fail? You know, are there any externalities that you cannot control afterwards? So we talk about we talked also about artificial intelligence. So when you build an AI, and when you fail and this AI is out of control, I'm sorry, don't use this cycle. So you have really to consider about what we are building and what we are testing. And when the externalities of the failure are not not big and popular and growing, then of course you should build, fail, and test and rebuild very fast. Yes.
Yeah, well, you know, with AI, it's like you know it the best. It was when they invented the train. Then you have all these journalists and people, they like more the pessimistic view, and they just see problems and danger with this new technical driven innovation.
Yeah, but still, Fabian, if you build an AI for autonomous drones who make enemy friendly detection autonomously and that fires autonomously, I think it's not that cool when you fail with this software. No, no, I think there are areas you have to behave. You have you have to double check whether this approach is the right one. And what is the opposite? The opposite are stage gate models. And you know, when you have a stage gate model, then you can define criteria in advance that you say when this criteria is not completed, then you don't go further in the process. And I think, you know, that's why we use both of these processes. But yes, when we talk about software as a service, when we talk about apps, if we talk about B2C software solutions, almost startups that we are looking for at StudioAlpha, yes, of course, this is the way to do it. And also, if you have any changes, any innovations in organization, in the culture, in your processes, this is the way to do it. I'm absolutely with you. But it's not the Holy Grail. It's not the Holy Grail. So that.
But nevertheless, you sound a little bit like a European politician that is specialized in regulations. Because what I say is that these drones do already exist, and somehow they're under control. I assume these drones already exist.
Yes, but they are developed by stage gate model.
Okay. So let's circle back to now considering these challenges for the European startup and this need to internationalize quickly. How can they apply this cycle that you just introduced to increase their flexibility and ability to pivot quicker?
Mm-hmm. So when entering international markets, there's a distinction between the waterfall and the sprinkler approach. But however, in both cases, new markets must be approached So yeah, or teasered. So it makes a perfect sense to develop markets using this circular or cycle approach that we talked about before. So, and I think we as StudioAlpha, we also follow exactly the same approach. When searching for attractive startups in new markets, we pivot these markets. It's, you know, we use for the moment more a sprinkler approach. So let's say we teaser market X and market Y and Z, instead of saying, okay, now we go to let's say Philippines, and then let's push all our marketing power to the Philippines. And when we see, okay, Philippines is working or not, then we move to Malaysia. Now we use a sprinkler model, and we will see where we can reach these attractive startups in these markets. But how we do it is still the same. So we try out. Yeah, like Dom told in his talk at the World Forum interview, that you have to test, that you have to try it out, and just to do it, and then you measure, then you learn, you preserve these learnings, and of course then you pivot your idea, or in our case the market that you do want to achieve. And yes, of course, for startups, born global startups, they have the same challenge to decide, should we start in one market and then we go to a second or third market, or should we just sprinkle our communication campaigns and activities on several countries at the same time, and then we see which one reacts best, and there we can grow. Hopefully that answers your question, Fabian.
Yeah. Yes and no, because I think that the main issue we face in Europe is the mindset. We were raised at home. We were basically raised at school to really focus on one goal. So it's not, our school system doesn't like to try things, and they don't really like neither that you try out things and looking for a special in another way. They don't like that at all. And also culturally, I'm convinced that there's a lot of work to do in Europe, that the founders are courageous to really try out and just do experiments. I think you have competitors. So if you want to be the fastest growing and the most successful startup, you have to be very optimistic, and you have to try things in an optimistic way. Yeah. But yeah, let's see.
Fair enough. So I share this with you. I think at the beginning of our systems, of course, it was possible. So in the kindergarten, it was allowed to play, and playing is nothing else than build, fail, learn. You know, whatever you play, if you play in a sandbox, if you play I don't know, with wood, whatever. It's really that kind of how we learn when we start learning as childs. But the educational system goes in a different way. I'm with you, and I think that's why also Atlassian uses the word playbook, a team playbook. You know, or when we look now in literature, a lot of new books came out for, like, the ecosystem playbook, the design thinking playbook. You know, that's really, I think, from an adult perspective, we should play more. You know, and also as an entrepreneur, we should think like a child that is playing. That we play now entrepreneurship. You know, and that's really exactly that kind of cycle. That failing is not a problem. Failing is very good for learning. You know.
So my kindergarten and all my school time was so boring, and I'm astonished when I see my kids now. The school still looks the same. Of course, there are some exceptions, but it's when you see what technology looked like in the 70s and the 80s when we went to school, and how the school system worked, and that this school system still feels the same to me just via my kids. Unbelievable. I don't understand. I don't care. So we focusing on startups. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget, as a startup, if you want to level up, apply to our StudioAlpha.capital accelerator. We get started mid of August and make you ready to then demo day in San Francisco and Singapore. Okay, thank you very much. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.